Hello again, everybody. I'm Paul the Nitro Skywers here. Welcome to this edition of Nitro Memories. Thank you so very much for joining us. Today we go back to March 1989. We are now on the road to WrestleMania 5, and that's how we're going to start. And we'll talk about the NWA countering with the Clash of Champions 5 and their preparation for it. So let's begin. We begin with the WWF. The road to WrestleMania 5 has started. The Mega Powers, Macho Man, the lust in Hogan's eyes for Elizabeth. Yeah, the lust. Hogan's like, you crazy, brother. You're crazy. This ain't happening. Well, they two are not going to like each other one bit, and the intensity just keeps rolling and rolling. And the more interesting part is, which corner was Elizabeth going to be in? Well, she decided eventually, a week before WrestleMania 5, that she was going to be in a neutral corner out of respect for both men. So Randy Savage's Hogan's got lust in his eyes for Elizabeth. Yeah. And Hulkamania, brother, I don't have any lust for Elizabeth. You know that. It's going to all come to a head at WrestleMania 5. Of course, another factor, of course, the Ultimate Warrior's biggest test to date against ravishing Rick Rude, the man that says he has the sexiest body in professional wrestling. He and the Ultimate Warrior exchanging back and forth comments. You'll feel the full power of the Warrior, brother. Rude was like, Warrior, you don't have what it takes to beat me. And of course, you got to figure in Bobby the Brain Heenan in their corner. That was going to be an interesting battle. This was one of the Warriors' toughest tests as Intercontinental Champion. Demolition, defending their tag titles 2 against 3 against Mr. Fuji and the Powers of Pain. Can Demolition get their ultimate revenge on Mr. Fuji for abandoning them at the Survivor Series, as Mr. Fuji chose the Powers of Pain because Mr. Fuji felt at the time the Powers of Pain are going to make Demolition suffer and make them hurt and all that type of stuff. We'll see how Mr. Fuji played a factor at WrestleMania 5. Some other interesting bouts included the Red Rooster, Terry Taylor. That's an embarrassing gimmick if I ever seen one. Against Bobby Heenan himself. Bobby Heenan slapped the taste out of the Red Rooster's mouth for not listening to his advice. Rooster beat him up. Then he got beat up by the Brooklyn Brawler on television, where he hit Monsoon with a chair. That was the Brooklyn Brawler, by the way. I thought, ooh, he hit Monsoon with a chair. Monsoon going to go out there and whoop his behind. And he was not happy with Heenan. Not one bit. He's like, you owe me an apology. And if that happens again, I'm going to put a foot where the sun doesn't shine on you, Heenan. So that was a great one. Of course, they had the Brooklyn Brawler against the Red Rooster feuding before WrestleMania. Real interesting feud, so to speak. Oh, dear God. Jake the Snake Roberts against Andre the Giant. Big John Studd, the referee. Now, Big John Studd won the 89 Royal Rumble, and he was relegated down to being a special guest referee for Jake Roberts, who pulls out the snake, and Andre's afraid of snakes. Nearly had a heart attack on television a couple months earlier because of that. That was interesting. We'll see what happens. Of course, Brutus Beefcake taking on Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. We talked about the tag team titles. The Rockers taking on the Twin Towers, Akeem and the Big Boss Man, probably now the most hated team in professional wrestling after he threw Savage on top of Elizabeth. Plenty of heat there, brother. And, of course, managed by the Doctor of Style, Slick. All that, and it was just an action-packed, loaded card on the road to WrestleMania. That was all that was heading into March of 89, the road to WrestleMania 5. And on the next episode, we'll dive deeper into what happened at WrestleMania 5. And that was the WWF for March of 89. In the NWA, they were getting ready to counter with a Clash of Champions 5 from New Orleans, with the main event of Nature Boy Ric Flair against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the world's heavyweight champion, in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Now, they've had some great matches throughout the area on the house circuit where Steamboat pinned Flair to keep his title after 20, 30 minutes of action. It was going to be a good one. It was a tough call to see who would come out on top in that 2 out of 3 falls match. The Road Warriors, now back to good guys because apparently the bad guy gimmick didn't work, against the Varsity Club. Captain Mike Rotundo and Dr. Death Steve Williams. Speaking of which, I'll talk more about Mike Rotunda in a minute as it pertains to his TV title. But that was going to be interesting because the Varsity Club, the Road Warriors, they could match them. Mike Rotundo seemed to be the weak link of the team, but he proved them wrong. It was going to be a very interesting dichotomy between these two teams, and there was going to be a surprise result of that at the Clash of the Champions 5. More about that next month. And it was going to be free on the same day as WrestleMania 5. Could the NWA beat WWF again on WrestleMania Sunday with the mega powers exploding? Find out next month. Speaking of Mike Rotundo, let's get back to Captain Mike Rotundo. He ended up losing the world's television title on TV to Sting. I saw that match. That was a thrilling 15 to 18 minute battle for the world's television title. Now Sting has his first major championship, the world's television title. Now let's see if Sting can carry that world TV title on through 1989. But the Stinger, the new world's television champion. And with that, that's going to end this edition of Nitro Memories. That's it for March of 89. Next time, we get into the meat of things. April 1989, WrestleMania 5, the Clash of the Champions 5, and so much more, the fallout from that. It was going to be a huge, huge month for 1989, but that's going to be on the next episode of Nitro Memories, and that's going to do it for now. For everyone here, I'm Paul the Nitro Scarzers saying, so long, everybody.